So we have Representative Paul Curtman joining us in studio. So Paul, you're I think the generation below me. I think you're a little bit younger than me. So did you grow up a Star Wars fan? Did you have to catch it later on, or?
I remember watching Star Wars for the first time at a friend's house, maybe when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
1986. So that was just after, I guess, the third installment had come out.
That's correct. That's right. Return of the Jedi, I think, was 1986. So are you a Star Wars fan? Do you like it? Have you followed the rest of them?
I haven't really followed it. I honestly, if I tried to get in now, I'm not sure.
Yay, I'm not the only one in the room. Yes, I usually am.
So what about Star Trek? Are you a Star Trek guy at all? You're just
not really.
Not into this whole sci-fi thing. So. Paul likes real guns. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, real guns.
So Paul Curtman joins. He's a big friend of the show. He's on. I have him on many times, and he does a lot of other radio around the state as well. Paul is a state rep from out in my neck of the woods, just west of me, Eureka, Pacific area. And Paul, are you going into your junior or senior term?
This is the senior term, so this is my last 2 years.
How is that possible? Wow, you were like, I remember you as a doughy-eyed freshman. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and
he still is, right?
Yeah, he still is. Yeah, and I'm old and crusty. No, but I
said it,
Paul. That's right, Paul. I remember you before you were in the legislature, and now you're a senior. That's amazing, huh?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I went in with, I guess, one of the largest classes.
You did.
And now here we are. It's been 6 years. We've got 2 years left. And I guess there's going to be another huge turnover again in 2018.
Yes, there will be. There will be. So Paul, I can't say was a Marine, right? Is a Marine, right?
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's right. Yep. So Paul's a Marine. He's a small business owner now. You're in the financial industry, right?
Right.
And we were talking about your son. He's now over a year old. Talk about time flying. So the little guy's 14 months old now.
14 months old, walking, crawling into everything. My mom got him a little tunnel for Christmas, like a little collapsible tunnel. He has been in and out of that thing 24 hours a day since Christmas. Loves it. I mean, he's an explorer. He's an explorer. It's fun to watch him.
He'll be heading into the caves soon. So, Paul's going into his senior term. He's one of the leaders in our Missouri legislature for sure. And Paul, I want to, before we switch to Missouri legislative issue, I want to kind of wrap up some comments I was talking about earlier. You're someone who has traveled the world professionally, by the way, with your Marine career, and you definitely, like me, are into international policy. You think it's very important, and our stance in the world. And so I want to play a clip here. This is a Democratic representative from, I believe, the New York area. He was on MSNBC the other day, and I think the MSNBC commentator was a little taken aback because this guy was. It seems to be there's universal condemnation coming from both parties about what Obama arguably has allowed to happen in the UN. And Representative Eliot Engel was talking about how the United States did not stop this year's annual UN admonishment of the State of Israel for the establishment for the expansion, the settlements in the West Bank. And so here's what Democratic Representative Eliot Engel from New York said.
Well, it's sort of a parting shot out the door. President Obama, whom I voted for twice, decided that he was going to do this. And I think he would have been a lot better off just vetoing the resolution and saying to the UN, let's get serious here. Let's try to not put blame on one party, particularly the party that's a democracy. You have all these countries in the UN, some on the Security Council, Venezuela. I mean, give me a break. That is the worst country when it comes to human rights. They're going to pass judgment on Israel. And this is the problem with the United Nations. You've got so many undemocratic nations who resent the fact that Israel is this bastion of democracy in the Middle East. And so, let the Palestinians negotiate. I mean, I'm for a two-state solution, but you need the parties to sit down and negotiate.
So, Representative Curtman, do we have some bipartisan agreement here with yourself and the Democratic congressman?
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. I've been hearing just through the media lots of people on all sides of the political paradigm and the scale here that are just not happy with this, and for no other reason than the fact that the U.S. decided to lead by not being involved. Right. I mean, I'm just going to speak a little forthrightly here. It's kind of a cowardly thing to do, to hide behind an abstaining. And rather, I mean, if you really believe that it's not a good resolution, then vote against vote against the resolution. If you think it is a good resolution, like Samantha Power, she defended it. Barack Obama defended it. Well, then just do the right thing and vote for it. Join the other 14 states, join Venezuela, and vote for it. But it was a parting shot out the way, but on Barack Obama's way out. However, it was a very cowardly thing to do. I mean, if you're for the resolution, just vote for the resolution. We see this in Jefferson City sometimes. We see it in Washington, D.C. And Barack Obama, for the 8 years that he's been in office now, has always done the cowardly thing by always trying to hide behind some loophole, some policy, some administrative catch to prevent him from doing the right thing.
It's like he wanted to put the capstone on his vision of foreign policy, which is to lead from behind. It's pretty much what he's done for 8 years, right?
Yeah, lead from behind, or just let people know that, hey, I just don't really know. Remember when different things would come out in the news, and he'd always say, I found about it in the newspaper like everybody else. This guy has found out more in the newspaper like everybody else. I mean, then anybody else could do that job. I mean, if we were just relying on the newspapers, but he's always been hiding, and this was just another cowardly thing to do, just hiding. We're just going to abstain from. We think it's a good resolution, but we're not going to vote yes, and we're not going to vote no. We're just going to abstain.
So you, like me, were a supporter of Donald Trump, and I know we're looking forward with great excitement about the new leadership in D.C. and in Jefferson City, which we'll talk about on the other side of the break. But with Trump, do you see like I think this was an attempt to hamstring Trump, but I don't think knowing how we've seen Trump, I don't think this is going to hamstring him at all. I mean, we're going to have a rough few weeks here, right, until the transition of power occurs, but I think Trump is going to be a little tougher on the UN and on issues involving the Middle East.
Yeah, I think so, and I really appreciate his foreign policy platform, especially when it comes to non-intervention. We're not just going to be out toppling anybody we think is a dictator. I mean, you look at Barack Obama, what he and Hillary Clinton did in Libya, and the vacuum of leadership that they created in the Middle East, which helped create and induce ISIS. I really think that Donald Trump is going to take a much more responsible approach to intervening in the first place, and a much more responsible approach to any place we already are. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air.
It's a lot more in the vein. I know you were a big fan of Rand Paul, and also, I can go back to when I was Pat Buchanan. It's like, it doesn't mean the U.S. is weak, right? It doesn't mean that we don't lead. It's that Reagan model of peace through strength, and only getting involved when we absolutely should and it's absolutely necessary. That's sort of that view, right?
Yeah, in fact, that George W. Bush, when he ran in 2000, that was a keystone of his campaign, peace through strength. We need to have a very humble foreign policy. When you're the strongest military in the world, you have to be humble about it. You just can't go in any place you feel like you should go in to topple any type of regime you think you should. You got to be careful. We have a responsibility here. We have a duty to America first, and also to the rest of the world with this kind of strength.
It seems like Obama's foreign policy was get involved in the wrong places, don't get involved in the right places. And an example of that is, what we did in Libya. And remember the Arab Spring? What happened to the Arab Spring? I guess that was a quickly lived spring, and that's gone. But yet, siding with dictators and despots and tyrants at the UN, like Venezuela, and not doing anything in Syria, but yet attacking our allies. It's a strange worldview in my mind.
Just before we went on air, I looked up at the television screen, and they showed an infographic. 2016 resolutions at the UN, 20 anti-Israel resolutions, 1 condemning Iran, 1 condemning North Korea. And so we decided finally, Barack Obama's the last thing he's going to do on the world stage is he's going to start siding with the UN against Israel, rather than where we could have been leading for the last 8 years and going after the real human rights violators, people like North Korea, Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is.
Right. The latest. The latest.
Yeah. Whichever one it is now that's, starving people and inducing famine to control the population. I mean, we could have been doing that. We could have really been a voice for reason and personal liberty and responsibility at the UN, but instead we're leaving condemning Israel.
Some valuable real estate the UN's sitting on. I like Krauthammer's idea of maybe turning it into a new Trump Tower. So,
nice.
Hey, when we come back,
Allman in the Morning.
We'll continue our conversation with Representative Paul Curtman, and we'll talk a little Missouri legislature. Big changes in Jefferson City, huge changes, and we'll discuss all that coming straight ahead. Tim Jones in for Jamie Allman all morning this morning, FM News Talk 97.1.